right. Good day, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm Kyle Ellicott, your host today, and joined by an outstanding panel of investors from around the world today to talk about what's happening during this current time and environment specific to the biotech and medtech industries. We're going to go deep into each of these and talk about the interlacing technologies, what's happening in these spaces, along with what's happening if you're looking to make investments or looking to raise funds in these areas as well. In addition, we're joined by four pretty amazing founders for a Friday afternoon. I'm super excited to hear each and every one of them, who will get the chance to pitch and showcase their projects at the later half of the show today, live for each and every one of you. And as always, we're incredibly appreciative of each and every one of you joining in to listen, all the questions that you have, and being supporters of us here at VCT and all of our speakers and our startups as well. A quick shout out to the entire team and to my teammate Elena, who just puts all of this together and makes it work. Big shout out and thanks to her and the rest of the LA Token team for bringing us all together to make these types of things happen. And again, today's topic is focused around investments and pivots during a pandemic, during the current era that we're in right now, focused in biotech and medtech. There have been a lot of advancements, a lot of changes in these two industries. We've seen the FDA quickly, rapidly adjust their typical process for approving both drugs along with hardware as well. From the biotech, we've seen how our food supply chains may be changing, how we eat may be changing, how we are changing, how we monitor ourselves as individuals. So I think we've got a lot to talk about, but I'm going to pause here because we got a lot of people with a lot of good stuff to share. And from my view, we are in the Brady Bunch style. So I do want to welcome our very first speaker. Darwin, welcome to the show. If you could, please give an introduction to yourself and maybe a quick 30 seconds, 60 seconds of how you got into the space.
Sure. Thanks, Kyle. My name is Darwin Lange. I'm the general partner and founder of Good AI Capital. Good AI Capital is a venture fund. We are based in San Francisco here. We focus on early stage AI companies. Particularly, we have specific interests in three sectors. They are fintech, financial technology, healthcare, and B2B SaaS, software as a services. So we have something unique. Our name is called Good AI. The good really stems from the fact that if you start by doing good, you will end up doing really well. So this is our mission-driven investment thesis. We care deeply about the founders, as well as the entrepreneurs, as well as their values. So because of that, we work with entrepreneurs and technologists that really have a deep desire to use AI to tackle some of the most challenging problems faced across industries. And so particularly, I think today's topic is medtech and biotech. We have a deep focus on that area. So if you want to have a transformation impact towards the society, I mean, you know, what better way just to have like healthcare? That's why it's a very straightforward. So we have a specific kind of like investment thesis, a three-pronged thesis for you know, in the biotech area. We invest in synthetic biology. We invest in precision medicine. We invest in also sort of the idea where what we call the manufacturing or the accessibility, where we can actually lowering the cost of drug manufacturing. So AI and data is actually a key component towards it that have direct application towards drug discovery, you know, even like biopsy testing, and currently is a vaccine discovery, and all of that has played a huge role. So it's very opportunity, you know, it's a great, you know, although it's a crisis, I think this is a pandemic crisis. Everybody was, there's a lot of doom and gloom going around, but for us, we are very excited about the opportunity, not because of the, you know, of course the challenge, but this is actually where there's a lot of huge amount of innovations, and the human capital as well as the, you know, the entrepreneur spirit is never hire. And so this is very excited to be here at the panel today.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And I think this is going to be a common theme we're going to talk about with the rest of the speakers as well, as this intersection of these technologies applied to the use cases and industries that you just mentioned. So we're excited to have you as well, and good to see you again outside of a coffee shop. Jaian, welcome to the show.
Hey everybody. My name is Jaian Cuttari. I'm CEO of Veltrust, a global advisory and investment firm. We focus on a lot of emerging technologies to implement in emerging markets. I advise heads of state of various governments in these markets, like regions in Africa, regions in Asia, Eastern Europe, for example, South America. And I've also I'm also involved in government contracting with the United States. I'm also doing a lot of consultancy currently with the governors and stuff here to kind of secure supply chains for equipment and also to provide technologies which would further, I guess, provide some form of alleviate, should I say, the pandemic situation. Stuff like the coronavirus tracking, stuff like that is what we'd like to bring to the table. And the other company I'm CEO of is British Digital Asset Management. Its focuses on fintech for cryptocurrency banking, payment processing. We're working on launching into 75,000 stores, 7-Elevens and CVS and all of those kind of stores for merchant payment processing using crypto. My portfolio's generally in healthcare, hospitality, agri-tech, stuff like that. And we like to see how startups are answering the challenge, and we like to see how creative things can get. So that's kind of where we come from. Yep.
I love it. Welcome to the show. We're again excited to have you. Alex.
Thanks, Kyle. And hello, everyone. My name is Alex Cater. I'm the principal of the Cater Investment Group. We are a consulting and investment firm that focuses in the growth equity space. We have our consulting practice, which is geared towards the three main verticals. One is finance, the second is operations, and three is technology. And then on the investment side, we invest in growing businesses with a track record with tech as a service, hospitality, and travel, as well as real estate services, which involve property management and other tech platforms that are enabling purchase and transactions and managements of properties. We're based in the U.S., in Illinois, recently opened in Florida as well, but we also operate in Asia with office in Bangkok and operational field office in Korea, doing work in the public and private sector. Most of our work, particularly focused on biotech, is focused on the consulting side. So personally, what got me involved with it is previously working and leading business development at Samsung Biologics, which is a CDMO, a contract development and management organization based in Korea, and working on the strategic partnerships as well as M&A and joint ventures there. So the perspective that we bring to this space is a little bit more on the consulting side, and with that perspective of how to actually deal with the placements, dealing with demand, and the technology associated with the manufacturing and development after cell line.
Welcome. That's great. Lots to unpack there. Radhika, great to see you and welcome to the show. Same question to you. Thanks,
Kyle, for moderating this great panel. And hi, everybody. I'm Radhika Iyengar-Emens. I am a founding partner of StarChain Ventures, which is a venture studio based in Silicon Valley. And we're focused on three different areas, three main verticals, healthcare being one of the big ones that I'm personally very passionate about. but we also do fintech and supply chain logistics. We've worked extensively in this area of blockchain for a while. My colleague Jorden Woods is on the panel as well, but we just came out with the book, Enterprise Blockchain Has Arrived, in December, and to much critical acclaim. So that's been really great. And as far as the venture studio, we are focused on winning solutions in these three sectors that I mentioned, and spinning up a few new solutions, first of which will be in healthcare, actually. I'm a digital health expert as well, in addition to everything else, and TEDx speaker, Silicon Valley Woman of Influence, and really excited about the opportunities. Like Darwin was mentioning, when we have times of downturn, it really opens up brand new spaces and opportunities. And so what's really exciting and the silver lining in this dark COVID cloud is that we have amazing opportunities that we can take advantage of and prepare ourselves for the future. So that's what we're focused on and really excited about. Thanks for having us today.
Love it. Welcome. And again, can't recommend the book more than enough. It's absolutely phenomenal. 400 plus pages, deep. Let me put it that way. It's very, very detailed and great. Jorden, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to go to David next, going in the order. So David, welcome back to the show. Good old friend as well. Good to see you not in a coffee shop and actually in this wild background you got going on. Welcome back.
Thank you, Kel. So my name is David Cao. I run F50. F50 is a global investor network. So we organize the largest entrepreneur community network in Silicon Valley called Silicon Valley Entrepreneurs, and also produce F50 Global Capital Summit, one of the largest global investor conference in the Valley. Now, this year actually is be global in India and China, of course, USA. So I'm also manage two funds. One is F50 Venture Funds. We invest 30 deals. Health tech is one of our focus. And also I'm involved in a larger fund called Honeywell Lake Ventures. It's a surgical device fund focused on growing and later stage investment in intelligent surgery solutions.
Wonderful. Welcome back. Jorden, again, welcome back as well to the show. We talked a little bit about blockchain fintech last week, so we'll probably dive back into that, but welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. So also with Radhika at StarChain Ventures, founding partner. And so Radhika gave a background on the areas that we focus on, in addition to blockchain, which we're very deep on and very focused in. And we see tremendous opportunity during the pandemic. We're also looking very much at its kind of the integration of blockchain with AI and IoT. And there's a lot of different opportunities in healthcare specifically, with regards to remote monitoring. But I think what the pandemic brings into focus is a lot of people have been taking their health for granted, and or even chronic conditions, thinking that because they have chronic conditions and they can manage them with medication, they're actually well. But there's actually globally a growing sickness that is going on. And we believe that there is the opportunity, while we have the focus on health, to actually put in place solutions. And so we're in the process of spinning up our own companies, which are very focused on the intersection of these different technologies, but with the idea of actually being able to improve through predictive techniques, as well as some transformations in the way data is handled, to creating a very significant improvement in the overall health, at least in the US to start, and then hopefully globally. But we also have an advisory. So the book actually came out of the advisory that we do. And so we stay very close with all the different groups that are working throughout the blockchain and AI ecosystem. Healthcare, like Radhika mentioned, is one of our main verticals, but very tight with that, especially these days, supply chain, especially with regards to PPE, and as some of the other speakers have mentioned, is really leading to a bigger crisis, because really today we've had this crisis of supply chains, but there's been kind of enough of everything generally, so that we don't see the cracks in the system. But here we clearly see that there are significant cracks in the system, and there's also an integration between supply chains and fintech. So you really have to be looking at all of these systems together in order to be able to provide solutions. And so that's one of the reasons that we're very much focused on these ecosystems. And we think that the combinations of blockchain and AI, as well as IoT, have the ability to significantly improve the types of solutions that we're deploying globally.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't agree more. And again, we're going to dive and open up that Pandora box here in just a few. So Julio, welcome to the show. Happy to have you. Oh, we got you on mute.
I have unmuted myself.
Welcome.
We
can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. Well, I have several hats in life because I work for several organizations, but they're all relevant to the discussion here. First of all, my firm, New York Bay Capital, we're a 20-member partnership in New York City with a fund and with clients. And so we're a combination of advisory work, but mostly merchant banking, meaning we invest in businesses. Although our principal role is to bring our clients to investment opportunities. And specifically, our clients tend to be from Latin America. This is sort of our area and specialty of the world. For 30 years, I've been doing Latin American investing, whether it's private equity or investment banking. And we do have a group of people in Latin America, mostly family offices, who have instructed us to find interesting companies around the world to invest in, and particularly in healthcare. They see not only great change and great opportunity to invest in anything related to healthcare, especially at this time of high tech and obvious challenges that we all have. But their primary beef with the world is that they almost never get invited into investing into interesting companies because they're not in the loop. They're not in Silicon Valley. They're not necessarily even in the United States. They're in Latin America. These are wealthy individuals and families with a lot of resources who would have liked to have been invited, to invest early on in all of the companies that we now know have hit it big in many sectors of the economy, but particularly in tech. So I'm here a little bit as their eyes and ears to find interesting investments where not only could we introduce them to new companies around the world, Europe or the US, to invest in, but where we would also write a check, so that they could see that when we recommend an investment, it's not only that we think it's a good idea, but that we're willing to put our money where our mouth is. So the name of our fund is New York Bay Blue, and the name of our company is New York Bay Capital. Maybe I could put a little, look here, that's our logo, Nye Bay Capital. Well, therefore, I'm looking forward to learning about any interesting new opportunity out there for investment at the seed or Series A level, because we think we can deliver the kind of capital that most people don't think about and they tend not to see, which is this sort of family office network in in various places in Latin America. It's great capital to have. These are not, this type of capital does not need a lot of decision-making authority. It's not like venture capital where people want to come in and to some extent help you run the business. This is really more passive capital based on what we think could be something interesting that will develop big over time.
Yeah, and again, excited to dive in and unpack that. And last but not least, a regular guest and superstar on VCTV with me, Tess. Welcome back to the show. Quick introduction, and then we'll go around with the big first question.
Thank you, Kyle and Elena and the rest of La Token for always inviting me. I think mainly because they also invited me to speak on this panel because they know I had a few exits since investing, and BioTech is one of them. So I think it was very fitting, and to be also on a panel of such other great speakers is always, very, very attractive. So on that sense, I think I'll tell a little bit about myself. I'm Tess, founder of Tess Ventures. The focus on why I decided to invest in early stage and pay it forward starts from university when I started my, one of my startups with a co-founder. With a lot of hard work, by the time I graduated, it was acquired, and I decided that there's enough challenges being an entrepreneur. If we can be on the other side to help, the founders, we should. So with all the lessons learned, I decided to start a platform where, our team, myself, invest and co-invest with a lot of other great, strategic investors. And the 5 areas that we've been focusing on heavily for, over a decade absolutely is biotech. Also in fintech, obviously, that's where blockchain, and that's where very early on been able to be asked to speak on panels. And then also on Southeast Asia, emerging markets, actually, Latin America, investing, and also in female technology, female focused, product technology pain points that, have come up with innovation solution. Obviously, combined with all of this is, health tech, which falls into, why biotech and medtech is important. So one of the companies that I've been very fortunate to be, part of in early stage is obviously in, personalized medicine. And it was through scientific research, deep analytics, and clinical application development. That was very proud to be a very hands-on, proactive investor, sometimes help incubate. This was absolutely when I decided to start my own fund to spend time at the best places to get mentored and the best, ecosystem of candidates, founders, teams, and also VCs. So I spent some time at Stanford between 2011 to 2013. And it was at that time that I met some amazing professors that were focusing on biotech, yet they also needed more entrepreneurial kind of team members to help them get this going. They had a great postdoc founder, and then I was the one that said, I think, pairing and matching you up with someone at the MBA GSB school would probably be something that would be, a perfect, combination. So with that said, definitely help them at this match, and then later help them with the early stage funding, and really be able to do the proper advisory work with them. And then later they had a great exit. So I think, as one of my entities as a very early stage investment into this, and also be helped them through the whole process, has given me a lot to learn about the biotech, challenges, and also what is actually possible. A second company that I've been definitely advising and then investing into is a great company that focuses on therapeutic design, is to be a only one-time, one-week cancer treatment. What the founder, who has an amazing background in this area, he combines dengue fever and also autologous dendritic cells to induce a strong immune response, along with personalized tumor targeting. And it was very rewarding to spend quite a lot of time also really seeing my Southeast Asia LPs and potential LPs and a lot of my family office friends, seeing such an amazing excitement to them when they are focused on the US, they're phase 1 FDA approved. And it was all during this COVID-19 times that they also saw a lot of value in these teams that also can focus on helping with vaccine. So with that said, I also am the chief ambassador of Walu. The potential of what they have been doing in just helping with sanitizing masks, developing the machines that's needed to help the frontline has been very exciting. Also, the 3D printing to help frontline medical workers. Some friends of friends, they absolutely have started an initiative, and various notable schools are partnering them. So I look forward to, helping all the amazing initiatives in my ecosystem, and also learning more about what everyone else is doing and see how we can, work together and also move this forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. Again, welcome everybody. I think we've got a quick overview of where each of your perspectives are going. And it's again, the theme as Darwin kicked us off with is there's an interlace of technology that sits at the transformation of these industries, right? Biotech and MedTech, call it 6 months ago, are very vastly different than they are today, and probably even more so than they will be in the next 3 to 6 months as well. And so Darwin, let's just kick it off with you. I mean, what's happened and what's going on in these industries right now? Things have dramatically shifted, as I just mentioned. Where are we going? What is all going to happen here in the biotech, medtech industries?
Well, one thing so let me kind of just look at it. So right now, because of the pandemic, really put it on the front and center, the acute need of all these different medical services. Some of the more we invest in I mentioned that one of the field called synthetic biology. For those who are not familiar with synthetic biology, what it's actually trying to say is using a new term, a technology to basically, do read, write, and then update against the cells and the biologies. So if you're a programmer, an engineer, you work with databases, you're familiar with the operation, read, write, update. So essentially, we're doing the same thing for biology, for cells. It sounds very scientific, very science fiction-y, maybe even like before the whole thing here, it might be still the very science fiction, but it is actually a reality. The reality is happening right now. And then again, there's a lot of great innovative therapeutic solutions that are already created, some of the cell therapies, gene therapies, and microbiome therapies. And these are the areas that we heavily involved with. But before all that, nobody actually hear about this stuff here. And one of the vaccine creator, one of his names called Regeneron, the company is really focusing on using gene sequencing AI to create this vaccine. They have success before in creating an Ebola vaccine like 6 or 7 years ago when we hit. But these are things where, because Ebola did not hit America, that have a negative impact, so nobody really pay attention. Now all of a sudden, company like this become like the darling of Wall Street. Their stock just go up like crazy. There another company that's a vaccine. So all that, I think, will kind of speed up the development of all these different advanced therapeutics. At the end of the day, people probably don't care much about what the technologies that they're using, but at the end, it's like, what are the end results? Can you give us a vaccine in the next 3 months, 3 to 6 months? And I think there are a lot of promising signs that are pointing that way. And another trend that I think is really happening right now because of the whole, it used to be, involving investing in biotech is a pretty challenging, first of all, because of the science and the engineering behind it, but more so is really the whole FDA approval, the cost of development. One thing that is key to our investment thesis is that how do we lower the accessibility? In other words, how do you make it affordable to the mass, right? So before, we co-invest with a large pharmaceutical company called Novartis. So Novartis is a leader in the gene cell therapies. One of the drugs that they come out with, 1 year ago is a gene therapy drug that costs about $2 million. So that was right before the whole pandemic, where there might be another debate or discussion where the politicians are kind of like treating the whole pharmaceutical industry as a villain, if you will, where how come they charge us a cost like that? But when you actually work deep into the industry, you realize that these are actually 10-year costs. Take $1 billion development. It's just like something where a lot of bottlenecks that you need to overcome, a lot of trial and error. So now, because of the thriving of the AI technology and data, all that are becoming we can actually invest in company that focus on these kind of capability enhancement that, shorten the AI drug discovery from 10 years to 5 years. And now the vaccine, anything that is not necessarily just like the manufacturing side, also like, the development side, everything we're going to be speed up just because of the pressure that is kind of giving in. And at the end, I think a lot of these pharma company are trying to do, look, we might even just give it all out to these, to the general mass, because, there's like, pandemic hitting, we need to get this out as soon as possible. We can make it scalable. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, how to make the supply chain scaled, particularly for the cost manufacturing. And the whole FDA approval will be speed up, not because of, just because of the fact that we just want to push it out. I think there are technologies that will allow them to make the clinical trial that speed up, and everything will just kind of propel towards the, the outcome against, at the end, we care about the outcomes. We care about, can you actually create a drug that this, that potentially cure this kind of disease and all that. And that's what people care. And now again, it's front and center where can you get this out in the next 6 to 12 months? So this is going to be a trend that I think is going to be, at least from the scientific angle, that I think we feel that's going to take place, and we're very excited about this.
Radhika, I'm sure you have some, I saw your head shaking, you were agreeing, so I feel like you have something to add on to that. Same question, but feel free, I would love to hear more thoughts on that. We got you on mute.
Healthcare is definitely one of those areas where there's tremendous opportunity. I mean, this is why I'm so excited to be on the panel here. But the areas of vaccine development, drug discovery, drug development pose their own sorts of challenges in what I call the legacy world, the new world that we're moving to, with blockchain being one of the underpinning technologies, has some amazing breakthrough potential in reducing those costs. I mean, particularly when it comes to clinical trials, identifying, retaining, and being able to engage the patient population through the drug discovery process. There's a 4-phase process with clinical trials, which adds tremendous costs currently to drug development and drug discovery as well. So I think on the drug discovery side, we're seeing some particularly exciting solutions already. I don't know if any of you know of the consortium Melody, which is an AI-based consortium that has an AI-based solution that is based on federated learning as a principle. And so it's able to push up the weights of the results of algorithmic processes, so that each company that is participating, each pharmaceutical company that is participating in the consortium, is able to retain its private data. So the question of data comes up. Enterprise is very reluctant to let go of its data. These are proprietary sorts of data stores. And so when you talk about the balance between preserving confidentiality and privacy of corporate data, but then also being able to leverage other larger sets of data, you start being able to stitch a much larger pool of data, which is kind of what you need for the future of drug discovery and drug development. So we're seeing already, with the combination of AI and blockchain, and then some other aspects in drug discovery in particular, we really are seeing some breakthrough opportunities. And I think those are the exciting areas that I think we can look towards on that side of things. On the clinical trial side of things, patient attrition is very well documented in the industry. And so you've got 30 to 40% of patients that are dropping out of clinical trials, and the whole process of identifying the right patients and then being able to stitch together a patient pool that will carry through all the processes, all the stages of clinical trials. It's tremendously costly. And so if we're trying to retain patients, we've got to be able to find new ways to incentivize them to stay with the process. So it reduces the cost of having to identify brand new patients to replace those that leave, and keep them engaged through the entire 4-phase process. That's a really big barrier right now, and so adds to the millions and millions that are spent in drug development and time as well. So to Darwin's point, when you look at wanting to reduce not only cost, but also time to develop these drugs, and make it indeed more accessible, as he put so well put, Darwin. I mean, I think that's really the holy grail, is cost and time. And so I think this is where technology can be fully leveraged, and we're seeing the intersections already between blockchain and AI, to redo and revamp the ways that we develop drugs and make it more accessible to everyone. The other thing is data pools. And so if you think about the way drugs are developed, the pools of data that we're basing it on are incredibly narrow. They're basically monochromatic. And so if you think about the global population, we don't have a monochromatic population. We don't have one type of population. We have different ethnicities, we have different geographies. And so all of these, DNA pools, if you will, have to be leveraged if we really want to come up with global solutions. And I think with COVID, for example, we're really seeing this very raw, where we have this one pandemic that's not hitting one little corner of the globe. It's affecting all of us everywhere. We've got a population of 7 billion. We need to find solutions that are going to address the 7 billion, not one little tiny subset or slice of the population. And so I think when it comes to drug development and drug discovery, we really have to think about more inclusive and diverse sets of data. And I think this is where blockchain can really leverage the ability to incentivize and pull in diverse sets of data across a global population. And that really is going to revolutionize the way we develop drugs and discover drugs. So that's on that point. The other point that it's going to touch on is personalized medicine. And I think, Tess, you mentioned that, and that's something that I'm really excited about. So I think the future of drug development, drug discovery, but also making it personalized to a particular subset of a population or an individual based on DNA makeup. I think this is kind of the really exciting intersections we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, Tess, anything to add on that? I mean, the personalization thing we've been teased about for years. And I know there's a lot more work that's coming around food and other technologies. What are you seeing in that space, to add on to Radhika's point as well?
Yeah, and shout out to Radhika. It's great. It's been a few years since we've been on the same panel, but it was so much fun in San Francisco when we did a women's panel, and then later, also be part of another panel where we spoke on, and you were the moderator. So it's good to be reunited here. I think personalized medicine absolutely has been something that was talked about for many years, but I think in the last few years, there has been a lot of progress. I personally have looked at personalized, even personalized in the aspect of vitamins. That has been just absolutely a period where there were so many great startups that was figuring out vitamins is something that we touch day to day. How do we figure out using this, concept of personalized medicine? So at that period, there was various startups that absolutely was just using the buzzword personalized, but they're great founding teams. And then there were those who were really targeting this, because vitamins is something that everyone has to, have 1 or 2 times a day. So, if there's a possibility that we can figure this out, that was a great way to go. So I've definitely looked at a lot of great teams in this area, and I continuously still see it totally makes sense. There's challenges, obviously, as how do you do this one size fit all? And what do you think? How do you think about who is the brand behind it if it's coming from a startup? So in that sense, there's a lot of partnership and brand building and just filling yourself. That's very important. And especially since I invest in early stage, I see these teams early. What is important is, how do you as an investor, tease out, there's so many different, areas that are interesting. Another area that I think we should also talk about a little bit is how basically with a blood draw, how are you able to detect cancer? Very early, there has been extreme coverage, and also lots of various startups and founders tackling this problem. I've definitely have been privileged to see a lot of these various research and actually applications coming out of Stanford research labs, like for example, Steve Quakes. He himself is a serial entrepreneur that Professor Steve Quakes, now he, three companies, I believe it was, that he started, and then one of them was sold to Illumina. And now today he runs BioHub, which is, a great platform that, Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan has donated, I think over $1 billion. They award the grants to top schools. So these grants help early stage health tech, biotech, I think largely biotech startups be able to give them that boost, because funding for biotech companies is not easy. You absolutely have so much more diligence, and therefore they bridge this area. And I've been very lucky to be able to definitely be involved in this amazing ecosystem and be able to see a lot of the great technology, the great solutions that are coming out in this space.
Yeah, and you touched on the funding aspect. So having come from a world as well in this of hardware and software, I mean, getting something approved by the FDA is not cheap nor quick in the past. Again, I think that's changing, as everyone's mentioning. David, what are you seeing in terms of fundraising? Or is this getting easier? And to caveat that, not that it's easy or was before, but is this starting to become a little bit better of a process to raise capital as a med tech or biotech type company? Oh, you're on mute.
Well, everything's getting more difficult, except the small number of companies who have a direct solution or direct answer to the pandemic. But the opportunities that maybe, like say, I'll divide into 3 areas. Areas where is nothing to do with the pandemic. Those areas mostly slow down by like 50, 60, 70%. Some area has 90% pause, pretty much the activities stopped. The second area called direct response. Direct response, we saw some companies get funded very quickly. Larger amount of money than were thought, because they have a direct response to the COVID-19. The third category of company is that they are not necessarily a direct response, but they are some way related to the pandemic. Could be seen as winner after the pandemic, or being seen as the survival after the pandemic. So those companies generally slow down a little bit, but companies, some of them are doing well. I would say this area is slowed down by maybe like 20, 30%. So that's what I will see. So on the other hand, so there's a waiting period, investors cannot wait too long. What we saw is that starting in February and March, April, I'm not sure you see many big VCs, their entire office on vacation in March. And everybody start doing podcasts. Why? Because they don't have anything else to do, because they stopped investment. So, but these things cannot last forever. They have to fire the people or start give them work to do in the big VCs. So Stand Hill VCs have lots of meetings as well. We met many of the VCs last few weeks. So people start to get back to work. So my point I'm trying to make is that there was a pause for a few months. And now not only startups, but also investors need to adopt what they call the new normal. The new normal is in the past, you get to see the founders eyes to eyes, face to face before you even give them an impression, do I have the chance to move forward or not? Now everybody realizes, well, we have to do the Zoom. Let's determine do we want to move forward on Zoom or not. That's the new reality.
This right here, Zoom events is our new reality, and it's okay. It's perfect. Jaian, I want to come to you real quick. So you kind of sit at this intersection of all these things that were just mentioned, and Alex, you've got a different intersection I'm about to come to. But Jaian, you focus on these emerging markets, and specifically Africa, and a little bit of Asia, but also, as Radhika said, there's this new model of incentivizing that's starting to rise in the world of, we'll just say, healthcare, that's coming up. So with what you're working on in fintech, but also these emerging markets, what's happening? What are you seeing in terms of movements in these areas?
Right. So, in terms of what's going on in Africa, Africa is seeing a huge leap. They're not taking baby steps anymore. They're taking huge leaps forward. In terms of infrastructure, they're transforming very quickly. In fact, they're doing a lot better than you would imagine, better than even in the United States and a lot of those areas. Some villages are using, just to get an idea of how technology is rapidly evolving there. Some villages are using graphene. Graphene is a superconductor, and it's like stuff out of the movies. And then these villages, you have villages taking graphene flashlights and flashing it around. I'm like, we don't even have that. But in terms of what's going on in Africa, they're very open and they're being very proactive in implementing technology, emerging technologies very rapidly, using blockchain for banking the unbanked, blockchain cryptocurrencies, using, being open to doing a lot of these, trials, clinical trials and stuff like that. There's large demographics there who are different, as mentioned, different ethnically and stuff, and they're creating solutions locally. They're not going abroad, but they're actually have pharmaceutical companies locally working with locals to create local solutions. The other thing I wanted to also mention was that, just going back a little, on the question of what is the funding situation, I guess in the private sector, it is, kind of like, as David was mentioning, it is set up that way. But there's also the governments, European Union, and also United States government stuff to set aside, especially European Union, set aside billions of euro for biotech companies and stuff. And it's very open-ended and low entry to get into those kind of programs. So there's, if companies aren't able to kind of get their foot through the door with VCs who are on vacation, I think they'll have a great opportunity, get going through the government route for funding as well. But yeah, so Africa, what is Africa doing? They are doubling down. A lot of them are, local solutions are pouring out of Africa, assisting the local government with this pandemic. There's also a lot of international solutions going, flooding into the market, because as long as it's low cost, easy to implement, because there's not much infrastructure. In terms of in the healthcare space, a lot of these countries don't have the type of infrastructure we'd expect, for a lot of, or at least a lot of the, Europe or US would have. So really, they are looking for the very basic solutions, which will answer the very basic, problem or challenge. So nothing which is too expensive, nothing which is too complicated to implement, nothing which can't already be plugged into what they already have existing. That's kind of what they're looking at and what they're doing, just to give an idea.
Well, and back to the fintech point. So you guys are working on a solution to implement, cryptocurrencies, or we'll just say digital currencies, across 75,000 stores and retailers. Mm-hmm. Is this this type of technology you're working on? Is this something that could be used for the monetization or incentivizing, as Radhika had mentioned?
Yeah. So data incentivization. I was actually head of investment to a Hilton company, which was working on a blockchain solution for travel profile systems. So like basically, you walk into a hotel and they know you because it's almost like you're a regular, because they have all your likes, your dislikes, and they treat you like a regular, and you get bang for your buck. And there was data monetization involved in that. So you provide what your information, what your likes, dislikes, and stuff. You get incentivized with discounts and stuff like that. Can we do something like that for this? Yeah, we can plug it in. We can, it is a plug and play solution. Whether it's fintech or healthcare, I think the basis of the thing is delivering this, giving some sort of monetary reward for cooperating in research or stuff like that. I think that's doable. I think we set up a wallet and have it attached to the patient, and the more progress they make, we reward them accordingly to their achievements, and they can see the milestones they have to hit and what it means in terms of financial reward or something. Yeah.
Perfect. There you go, Radhika. You've got your solution. Alex, so to you've sat on all sides of this, and you've done a lot in Asia. You're here and opening around the world, but you also spent a lot of time at Samsung, someone who's building hardware in a lot of these use cases. How are you seeing all this kind of shape out, sitting at all these different points of the table?
Yeah, so I guess I would touch base, kind of building on what's been said between Jaian and David. With Samsung, it's kind of a few different pieces. The first was with electronics. Samsung's a conglomerate, I think, as everyone knows. I don't think everyone knows exactly how deep the rabbit hole really goes in across all of these different verticals. So you have medical devices. Samsung, when you're in Korea, you have basically Samsung runs its own hospital. It has all of its equipment in that hospital. It's a one-stop shop for everything that you need to get done. So they're in that space. And then when we're talking about biotech specifically, that moves to two other businesses outside of electronics, which are biologics and bioepis. Bioepis is more so on the development side, particularly producing biosimilars. And then biologics, like I mentioned before, is a contract development manufacturing organization. And what that means for most people who may not know, because you never would hear about Samsung as a producer of drugs, effectively, when you have your Pfizers or your GSKs and they're producing a molecule that they want to actually take to market, effectively, sometimes they look for partners to help manufacture that drug, help them scale it up, or actually help them actually create it to make sure that it's stable and that it's a effective drug when it's earlier in its development process. And so Samsung is one of those players that serve in that role. And particularly when we're talking about Samsung and when we're talking about this epidemic, it's interesting because I think it was Radhika that said that we have 7 billion people. So there's going to be a lot of demand to provide and get out therapeutics to people where they're in need. And the first step is actually getting something that works, which is what I think a lot of people spoke to going back earlier in the conversation when Darwin was talking about making sure that there's something that's going to be effective, something that's fast-tracked, as we mentioned with FDA fast-tracking drugs, which is a relatively recent development to reduce that timeline from 10 to 3, and in this case, 18 months, or really aggressive with 12. But effectively, once you get past that, you still have to be able to produce it. And there's, with Samsung specifically, it's made its play in being a very, very large-scale manufacturer of drugs and having a excess capacity in the market. So this Samsung was built and constructed, at least for their manufacturing side, only 8 years ago. And for a time like this, actually, where you have a lot of drugs in the pipeline that are going to be developed or have a need or demand to be produced and getting them out there. Now, initially, before this all started, there was a lot of drugs, original drugs that were coming off the patent that were going to have a lot of biosimilars coming into the market that you would see. Now with COVID, there's been a complete shift in terms of where that focus is, and how much demand is going to be needed and how much capacity is going to be needed to fulfill the demand is a big question. So I think that when you look at in the next few months, when we become through phase 3 of some of the therapeutics that are particularly treating and targeting COVID and coronaviruses, you're going to start looking at a lot of players that who is going to be able to help get these to market across the globe. And so that's where the CDMO space comes in, and there's a number of larger players that are in the space, not just Samsung, but Lonza, BI, Boehringer, and a lot of other ones. So that's kind of where I think the CDMO space plays in it, and the financing component of it. I think particularly when we talk about finance in this space, I think 2019 was massive for financing biotech. particularly at least what we are projecting is that 2020 will be a lot slower. It was built to be a little bit slower up front, but especially with this now, the type of investment activities will take on a different form in terms of the partnerships, collaborations, and making sure that you can to supply some of the pent-up demand that's in the pipelines for other therapeutics that have already been in the development process.
Yeah, and absolutely feeling that into transition as well, even further. So Julio, I want to come to you. I mean, you're working with family offices who typically have additional businesses that may relate to Alex's point, and also being focused on the Latin America markets or LATAM. What are you seeing in terms of Latin America, the movements similar to Jaian in Africa, but then from the family office perspective, I mean, what's changing and what's shifting around these industries? Oh, we got you on mute.
How about now?
Loud and clear.
I don't know why this goes on mute. I had to even switch. Anyway. Well, look, I think Latin America right now is focused on more the bottom-up approach than the top-down approach. Meaning, there's a lot of data out there that needs to be gathered that really had never been gathered. Right now with COVID, people have realized they don't really know, what's going on, right? They don't know very much about the population. They don't know who's being affected. They don't know, how those people behave. The data gathering aspect of medicine and in general tech has been lacking. So I think there's going to be a lot of investment in any company globally, which is really trying to make a difference more in, enabling the individual to upload data about, him or herself. This is nothing new in the developed world, but it really was lacking. And like in Africa, the advent of the cell phone, especially the smartphone, allowed people to have something in their fingertips that was, can be used to gather data. And Latin America doesn't have all of those privacy concerns that you see in the United States or in other places, where people are not willing to share data or feel very nervous about sharing data, right? In Latin America, through the cell phone, people willingly give you data. Maybe in 20 years they're going to develop, privacy concerns, but for now they want to tell you exactly what's wrong with them, where they are, where they've been. All of that is alive and well. And in order for any system that's based on blockchain to truly, be able to offer, that leap forward in data analysis and in data reach, you have to have the data gathering. So as I listen to the conversation, all I'm thinking about is, what companies are out there gathering data. Those types of companies are going to do well in Latin America, and they're going to be able to get funded from Latin America. Because before you design any kind of solution to any problem, you really need to have the data on the ground as to, who's suffering from what and who's where and who's doing what and who needs what. On the basis of that, other industries, whether it's telemedicine or drug development, are going to have a much easier time, to claim that they are the ones that can take us forward, because you're going to have the data, the problem, what you're talking. Today, you have no idea in Brazil or in Mexico or in Ecuador who even is sick, who's got COVID. Governments have been attacked mercilessly by, the Western press, for not only, some of them get attacked for falsifying data, but most of them are being attacked for not even knowing what the data is, for not knowing who, if someone dies, what they died of. There are many ways through which technology can help alleviate that problem just by relying on, smartphone data collection. that's my, I don't know if I answered your question specifically, but that's my overall reaction to this. And so we're looking for investments in companies like that are out there gathering.
Yeah, and I think you touched on
I'm sorry, just quickly, to add to that, like as you mentioned, a big part of it is that there's emerging markets heavily rely on phones. Africa, 1 in 5 Kenyans have a Bitcoin wallet. So, we can't even say that. So like that's same thing for Latin America, actually, they also are monetizing mobile minutes. So using that as an incentive, I know you mentioned incentives aren't necessarily a priority, they're willingly giving up data, but like to really get the most accurate data, get the best, results. I think you leverage telecom. We have access, like say GMM, for example, Grupo Mobile, Mexico. They have like 40 million customers. So leveraging their customer base to see, hey, do you guys, put questionnaires out, see if you have symptoms, stuff like that. I don't know. That's the point.
No, it's a good
sweepstakes. You run one sweepstakes, give one little prize, and you have millions of people signing up to try and get that prize. That still works very much in the
absolutely. And if we turn that to one of the points you made around personalized medicine and healthcare, Jorden, you mentioned that you guys are putting something together and focusing a lot on that space. And so, talk to us real quick, because we do to make a quick change here, but talk to us a little bit about where the personal healthcare market goes. As everyone's touched on these different pieces in technology and including blockchain. Where are we going in this very rapidly?
Yeah, so I think we're kind of at this point in time where, like we've been talking about, healthcare is very important, and so there's really a focus on it. And Tess had mentioned that there's been many years of people talking about personalized medicine, and there's been some advances, but there's some important components that have been missing. If you look at the healthcare system, especially in the US, you have the provider, you have the payer, and you have pharma. The fourth P is the patient, and the patient has been missing from the equation, right? There's really, to Julio's point in terms of the data, the reason the patient is missing is because the patient doesn't pay. And so we aren't considered to be important. And if we're not considered important, really, how can there be personalized medicine? There really cannot be, right? So we have to become the center of the circle of care that exists. And the only way is for the individual to actually have some value in the overall process. So if you look at what can happen with blockchain is, with blockchain, we can become the center of the data ownership, right? If we own the data, obviously we're important, because no one can carry out any work on us unless they have our data. And that data is going to belong to us, so we have to give control of it to someone else, or use of it. And then we're important because we're the center of that circle, because data is the only way that you can actually use AI, right? And if the AI is going to have sufficient data in order to work on the individual level, as well as at a population health level, so across cohorts, Radhika talked about this. If you look at the pandemic, there are over 8 different strains of this, of the coronavirus that are creating the pandemic. So if you come up with a vaccine, well, what is it a vaccine for? Is it going to work with all of the strains? And also, what is going to be the result of the clinical trials? Is it going to be with people in the US or in Europe or in China or in India? It may have very different results based on not just the individual, but also the cohort, right? The racial or the ethnic, the DNA of that particular group. So we have to really look at this from a personalized healthcare of the patient being at the center. And the only way you're really going to have that is with blockchain. It's been tried for over 20 years. And then once you have sufficient data, you have to be able to share that across an ecosystem. And Radhika talked about Melody. You have to be able to actually share data amongst disparate partners, disparate companies. So something that hasn't been brought up explicitly is that the fastest any vaccine has been developed for an RNA-based virus is about 10 to 13 years, right? That's the fastest historically. The fastest vaccine ever, in my knowledge, is measles, which took 4 years. So trying to get that down, obviously there's some process, right? We talked about the clinical trial process.
Right.
That does impact the length of time and the cost. But there's also just the fact that it takes a long time because of these different populations and these different groups and getting the data, et cetera. So you're going to have to not just have competition between 100 different groups, you actually have to have cooperation. Mm-hmm. And so what we see is the combination of blockchain and AI, but in a decentralized way where you're getting cooperation across an ecosystem. This can lead to a true revolution. Not only will it enable a level of personalization of medicine, but it will speed up drug development, the clinical trials process. There's actually, the components exist today to make this all happen. And we're hoping that this is actually a driver because there's so much money and interest. But if the old ways that we've been doing things are maintained, this pandemic is going to go on for 5, 6, 7 years. And also coming out of it, a lot of the populations that are at risk will continue to be at risk for the next pandemic and the next problem. So if we're really going to make differences, we have to have some fundamental systemic changes to the way medicine is developed, as well as our part in the overall ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think that's been echoed across all speakers today, and everyone's had some great points. And we are going to have to shift gears here. We've got 4 outstanding companies who are awaiting their moment to shine here. And after this, we will get to one more big round of Q&A, and that's around investments and how to be prepared as a biotech, medtech, health tech type company, because it is very important. It's a little different, as we've mentioned, than the standard company. So everyone in our audience, stay tuned for that here shortly after our startups present. So startups, welcome to the show. This is your time. The speakers have now switched gears into judges. Judges, each and every one of you should have access to a form. If you don't, please ping Elena. She will make sure you get that. Each startup you will rank and provide feedback. Please hold all Q&A until the end. I'll go around and make sure each startup gets a chance for 1 or 2 questions or 1 or 2 pieces of feedback from you, and anything else you have, drop in the chat. Startups, you've got each 5 minutes, and then we'll break. We'll go to the next one. This is a competition, so at the end, we will announce a winner. But again, each and every one of you have got a great audience and an outstanding panel of investors here who are looking to hear what you're doing and maybe go further than that. And without further ado, Jonathan, are you ready? You're our first startup and founder today.
Yeah, hello. Good evening to everyone.
All right, Jonathan, you're on the clock. Nice to see you as well.
Thank you. So actually, I'm here representing Blue Linker from Zorium Technologies from Singapore. They are based in Singapore, but they are also working in India, in New York. Now we are supporting from international labs in Madrid. And actually, Blue Linker is a community-driven contact tracing app, driven by user privacy and social immunity. We will take a look on the problem solutions, and actually we will end up with the investment. All of us know about COVID-19 is really contagious and it spreads really faster. And actually it's really difficult to trace all people who come in proximity to each other, right? People are worried about privacy and there is a social stigma to share their health conditions. So actually, by thinking of being able to alert people who came in contact with COVID-19 positive patients in the last day, we will be able to control and to be able to alert, to put in quarantine and test it on those people who were in proximity to ones that have been nominated as a positive patient. Actually, we know that all of us are currently having a smartphone, so the easiest way would be having an app to trace all those people, but really focus on the preserving concepts of non-using identities of the patients. So that's actually what we built up as a product, BlueLinker, as a tracing app for near-field peer-to-peer mapping using Bluetooth and GPS technology whenever needed. Actually, this is a developed technology, but we want to use this developed technology as a product, but not as a final product. We are looking for customers to use their envelope and to customize, to ask for customization according to their needs to solve their concerns and situation. Each could be different in any country. So actually, we developed something with the mind of white label, thinking of different features that will be applicable for all of our customers. Accurate contact tracing based in Bluetooth and GPS. GPDR concern will be secured by having a unique identification number per person, per user, but GDPR compliance. According to this, all the data will be stored in our customer server to guarantee that there is not third parties interruption. We are focused on admin panel, so who will be administrator of this app and all the information contained on this. This will be authorities, this will be nominated by our customers, which should be health ministers, health authorities, whatever they decide. And actually the most important, the customization. Alerting people, data synchronization, mapping, status of reporting, and all what they could consider as an important will be developed and given to them. And actually something really important, we are aware that now all the news are really going in the wrong side because people dying, infected, and so on. So people decided to do not look into the news, right? But there are still some news that are really important to be aware. So we want to let them know what's going on and especially those importance from the health authorities. How does it work? Actually, they download, the users download the app, they registered. It will be decided either by using the unique identification number from Bluetooth, or for example, the health authorities will decide who gets which identification. The second step will be either if the user is closing the app, will be moving on, and actually the users that comes from 2 to 5 meters proximity, there will be a connection and there will be a network. This will be collected and given to the health authorities. And the third one will be, once we get a positive infected user, the authorities will get all the map of connected by proximity people, and they will pass from green, so meaning their health secured, to amber, knowing that they have to get tested or directly into quarantine. And in case that they get red, they will be as a profile infected, right? Actually, this is an app which is in action. Everything is developed. Everything is ready to be applicable. The user can get directly their login and see what they are activating and all the different data, selecting countries. And actually, the most important as well is the privacy. So the user can connect, disconnect what is concerned, for example, the privacy on the GPS. And the most important, we believe, is the customization for our customers, meaning the health ministers of the different countries, and providing everything they are willing at. So if they want to control the regions, we will be focused on giving a mapping on those regions. If they want to see a report, a statistical report, if they want to see how the best idea would be giving information to give or to make a self-diagnosis, it will be installed there and provided all the information only to those health authorities. Actually, if we take a look on the competition, we see that there are many different kind of apps running over the world. Some of them are really looking into the tracing people, or on the other side, there are apps that are looking into the self-diagnosis application. But if we take a look on what we provide, we could say that BlueLinker is the world's first product to offer a white label solution. So we are not offering something that it's really close. We are offering something that will be open to be customized as our customer wants. Actually, the business model is adapting and customizing the solutions to each country without losing the global connection worldwide. And actually, instead of thinking of a unique application, it's better to have a faster and cheaper development already done, and actually having a robust, customized solution within days. And this is actually something that would benefit the citizens in real-time update by having this connection between all the infected people connected to you, even if you contacted them without knowing it in a supermarket, on the road, or whatever, helping the economy by supporting people knowing that they are green, so meaning safe to go out and moving and coming back to their business, or please be safe, be at home for a while. And actually the government is a fast solution, is 100% secured since they control 100% of the information from all their users community. And the customization, as I said, either by tracking mapping, self-diagnosis, a regional customized solution. And how we want to achieve our business model is by having different licenses fees, which is from a basic solution into a platinum base, which is a full customized solution, and giving monthly subscriptions. The team, actually, we see quite few representatives, but we have over 20 more team members worldwide. And the best is the strong developers to implement any customization required. We have Zorium, which is well known in Singapore. For example, if you go to ashleystamp.com or ashleymedicine.com, you will see that they are developing and they have been awarded in different countries. And actually 100% looking into medicine, 100% looking into the security. Ashley Stamp is a blockchain developed product. And actually we are looking for an investment of $500,000, especially to be able to reach what we didn't reach so far. So actually we were connected to health ministers in Spain, in India, in Canada, but the time due to the situation is really slowly. So actually we want to promote, especially this investment into the marketing to improve the product development, but to make sure that we are on traction, pushing harder to be faster. And actually, yeah, thank you for your attention, and please contact me for more information.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Great presentation. Again, judges, make sure that you do put in your scores and feedback and submit those. Next up, Expedio. Are you there?
Yes.
All
yes.
right.
Can you hear?
Loud and clear. The floor is yours.
Watch my screen. Yep. So, okay, first of all, thank you all to be here. We are driving home from Brazil, and we stand for save lives, around 40,000 lives in transit. So let me stop the presentation because it comes to auto. And again, drive home understands drive behavior and put this in a blockchain network. Okay, so here in Brazil, we have 30,000 billion real of insurance revenue, but this is only 30% of the fleet here in Brazil. And we have a trouble that is 64% of these expenses goes with losses. And our industry is so old because the pricification here in Brazil is the same for Paul and Look. Paul have different apps than Look, and they pay the same for insurance here in Brazil. We came to the business to change this. And I ask you guys, most of us have a profile on Facebook, Google, and Apple. That companies gather personal data and give us nothing back. DriveOn changed this game. You created the crypto miles. This is a token that works simple as that. We give your data, we give you token back. So, for example, the kind of companies that play the same game of DriveOn, like Enauto and Root Insurance, have very, very big valuation around the globe. So we are in Brazil, just less investors are watching this opportunity. It is huge here in Brazil. So the trends of this market is as you see on the map. The usage-based insurance is not going on Latin America and Africa and some parts of Europe. It's a huge market to explore. And we discover here that our product is start in a passenger cars, but we are nowadays in the all fleets. So this is the kind of competitors, you know. So guys, can you see my screen or it is?
Yep, we can still see it. You're good.
Okay, thank you. So our competitors is Mojo, Baseline in Canada, Octo, and Viva Drive. But we have the list of difference. We are, since 2017, 100% integrated with blockchain. We are hardware agnostic. And Mercedes-Benz Quality tested our product, and Harman, the greatest one on mobility already. So our digital asset is ready to go. And this product goes to various mobility verticals. For example, to combat COVID, we can easily get how the drivers are in quarantine or not. And we use a proprietary technology that is far cheaper than Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So we are in the NVIDIA Inception program. Our IA have 2 years on training. And this is a face of our product. We have a complete suite for the insurers and for the car manufacturers. Our business model is a software as a service, and Harman is one customer. We are transforming 30,000 cars in Brazil in digital wallet. And Mercedes-Benz, another customers, we are going to the heavy duty fleet with them. Some person says that IOTA with Jaguar came first from us, but DriveOn is pioneer on this field. This is part of our team. We don't have co-work. We are inside of R&D Institute. So this is some companies that our team work at, some Coca-Cola, Nokia, Samsung, and Sony, and so on. And this is our balance sheet. We get the money until now to improve the product. This is our provision of money. Since the end of this year, we start to reinvest to arrive in the end of 2025 with huge money to continue grow. We don't want to stop. We want to stay turned, launched blockchain with AI products to help save lives. And this our cap table. B3 is the stock exchange in Brazil. They have 3.53% of DriveOn. So our total solution today is 12%. 88% is with us. So this is some awards we have. We are the top 5 fintech in Latin America. In the whole rank, we are in the 10th position. Traxen signed us as the top 10 on IoT. And our customers nowadays, Mercedes-Benz, Comports, Nestlé, and Harman. Some partnerships we have, for example, Nexty, that is a blockchain on Asia that is helping us. They have 160,000 transactions per second. This is too fast, and our crypto mice is under this network. So said this, we passed on some programs. So that's it. And what we need nowadays is go to I/O with La Token. We don't ask too much money. We ask partners to make this revolution. Spread out blockchain, save lives. Doesn't matter the mobility vertical. We want to save lives. So this, welcome to the future. Thank you all. We are DriveOn.
Thank you, Expedio. We're happy to be in the future with you. And next up, I want to welcome Eric. Eric, you there? All right, Eric, I think you might be on mute. All right. We've got your presentation, but can't hear you. Oh, it sounds a little choppy.
I'm off mute, so.
There you go.
Okay, good.
We can't see your slides.
Great.
Can't see your slides. There we go. Yep, we're good.
Good, great. Yeah, so thanks for having me. It's great to be here. My name is Eric Williams. I'm the founder, president, chief investment officer of Addition. We are a digital asset manager, market maker, and proprietary trading firm. We have an incredible team that combines experience across traditional investment and asset management, software, operations, and cryptography. We have a combined of over 80 years of experience in traditional finance. Our edge is that we have a deep understanding of the exchange venues where we trade, their behaviors, their pricing drivers, market microstructure, combined with an in-house low latency automated execution platform that provides a unique competitive edge in capitalizing on very inefficient markets, high volatility events, and liquidity driven opportunities. And we do so at scale. As you can see, here's a little bit about our team. Again, over 80 years of experience in traditional finance and asset management. The key here is we really outperform. So some benchmarks against which we compare ourselves: the hedge fund research, relative value arbitrage index, the HFR broader hedge fund index, composite index, their cryptocurrency index, which is the closest comparable, but that is sort of a poor comparison because that is a long only index. And our average performance on a monthly basis is 8.25%. And again, we are market neutral, so that is superior when considered in risk-adjusted terms. The investment that we're offering is 5% equity for growth capital of $300,000, along with a $700,000 3-year note at 10%. One of the key benefits of this investment is it will come with a 25% preferred participation until rolling IRR hits or exceeds 20%. And then also 1% management fees and 10% performance fees on fund subscriptions. For our base case, a very conservative scenario, this results in a 20% 3-year IRR. And for our stretch case, this is in the 56%. The use of funds will expand our development scaling, provide upgrades and proximity services, salary and retention to our team, continue building, enhancements in our data center configurations, and some corporate admin. Our development roadmap, we continue to scale exchanges and order book connections. Currently, our system connects, we are integrated with 20 of the tier 1 digital exchanges and 7 of the top OTCs. We look to expand that significantly in the coming months. We're also connected to over 300 order books currently, and that number will also scale. Additionally, our middle office, back office functions, we will get more precise with our performance and attribution reporting, and also build out our data analytics infrastructure, which includes a backtesting engine for future strategy development. We will also spend on co-location and module distribution. Currently, we are deployed in 2 data centers globally, and we'll be expanding that number to 5. Additional spend on system configurations, hardware in particular, increased cores for throughput during high volatility, high volume times, as well as resource utilization and constant improvements in code efficiency. The debt capital is specifically for our trading track record. Currently, our performance is at between 5 and 25 basis points per day realized. So this track record, the debt capital for the track record will establish that formally. Our performance and attribution is currently capable for reporting by pair, algo, duration, and daily RPNL numbers. We'll add additional capacity, additional capital as a capacity for more presence on more order books to take advantage of thin order books and aggressive orders in the market, which represent substantial price improvement. And finally, it helps with our fundraising optics when talking to potential limited partners. And that's it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And last but not least, and again, judges, make sure you're getting everything in on your forms. Matmeet, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So thank you for having me here and Freshie for having us here, basically. Before we start, I would like to ask you to please close your eyes and imagine a story in your head. It will not take long, don't worry. I'm going to tell you a short story. And just close your eyes and just follow my words. So basically the other day, a friend of mine, he told me a story that he was at the beach, retired and full of harmony, living there without any worries and with his family. And he asked me what I was thinking about it. Now you can open your eyes. And I told him basically one thing, that he should stop dreaming, because this is actually how reality looks like. And to get more facts about this, in 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean. And the next time you eat sushi, you will remember this, because out of every 4 fish, there's one which contains plastic in it. That's why our team and we came up with the idea of Freshie. And what Freshie is basically, it's a clean tech grocery store, online grocery store. And how it works is basically that you, in the first step, order your groceries online from our store. In the second step, we deliver all of our products in reusable packaging without any plastic. And in the third step, you consume it with your family. In the fourth step, you schedule a time where we should pick up your when and where we should pick up your groceries. And then in the fifth step, basically we clean up, we pick it up, we clean everything in our store, in our warehouse, and we send it back to you basically. On top of that, we also pick up your trash and recycle it for you for free. This is how the store looks like online. You can check it out at freshie.eco. And why now, would you ask yourself now, why Freshie? The time is perfect right now, since many people on the left side, as you can see, have stopped or have reduced their disposable plastic usage. And as you can see, our goal in Freshie is to basically put this biggest bubble to shift this on the left side. So basically to help people stop using plastic and make it convenient for them. Since it's not convenient enough, and through our interviews to our customers' feedback, we realized that many people would like to stop it, but it's not convenient enough, and they don't want to change their habits for that. And as you can see also here, 53% actually, they want to have reusable packaging from brands and businesses, but they don't really have a choice right now. The market size right now is around 2.8 billion worldwide who would like to consume eco-friendly products. And also we focus on Spain right now, specifically on Barcelona, where our market size is basically 8 million. But from a bottom-up calculation, we came up with a number of 37,000, which we could reach instantly. Our business model, how we make money, is for the first year, we targeted a 10%, around 10% of transactions, which is around 3,500. We make money through the margins of our products and also of our customer fee, which is €4.50, which includes $3.95 for the order, and like for the delivery, for the pickup, and for the recycling, and the 55 cents for us. But now, because of the COVID, we have taken out the 55 cents of fee and just charge $3.95, and this would be around 200,000 euros of revenue for the first year. Our competition right now locally, as you can see in the green cycle, this is our direct competition. Loop, they're operating in different markets globally, but their focus is basically they charge a higher price as us, a higher price, but they have low product variety, which means basically that they have, Loop has just branded products. Yes, Future is locally only, they don't have an online store. They just have dry products. So we want to offer all the products, dry branded products, fruits and vegetables, and niche branded products, zero waste, basically brands, to offer all this need for you as a customer to have everything in one store. Our competitive advantage basically in Spain right now is that we are the first to market with such a service. Then the convenience that you just have everything online. You don't have to do any grocery shopping basically. We do everything for you, and even the recycling and reusing is made convenient. So you're 100% eco-friendly, plus you save your time. The delivery fee is $3.95, which is compared to Loop to $15. It's way less. The transportation is with bikes, is made by bikes, is eco-friendly, and we recycle everything for you, your trash at home, so it's also for free. And the product variety, which I mentioned before. The traction we have so far is basically that we launched a landing page in around September to see the interest in the market. After 10 days, we had 200 basically visitors and 35 signed up for the mailing list. And now we have over 2,000 actually visitors and more than 200 in the mailing list subscribe. There's basically a 10% of conversion rate. And we have already more than 60 units sold, 70 units sold, and over 30 orders. Because of the COVID also that increased right now. Our partners basically, as you can see here, are a lot of partners on the product side. Nosama, which you can see on the left side, is for the recycling and delivering basically for us. And as you can see, that the rest are basically products, niche products and branded products, and the zero waste basically environment and market. And our roadmap for the next steps would be to get major partnerships locally from big grocery stores which focus only on eco-friendly products such as Santimeri, Veritas, and offer them a solution to sell their products online and through us and with a reusable option. Then drive more sales through more marketing and increase that number. Then lower our packaging costs for us as a company. Have our own warehouse since we do everything from home right now. And get own suppliers through Mercabana, which is a big local supplier for the right products and everything. And we're attending the GSE finals in South Africa, which will be now online due to the COVID-19. And that's why to reach basically 16,000 transactions in the next 2 years, we are looking for a seed round of 300,000, which will be used basically to scale everything, to buy more jars, to do more marketing and sales. And in the second year, we hope to break even with a higher sales margin, which is right now around 30%, but we hope to increase that with more partnerships and products. And before you ask your questions, I would like to ask you last question. If you're still dreaming or if you're going to take action now. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well. And again, thank you and congratulations to all of our startups today. It does take a lot to get up on stage, whether it's virtual or physical, and share what you have built. And to Mahit's point, to your dreams as well. So with that being said, judges, make sure you get everything in to Elena and via your forms. We want to make sure we get all of that totaled up so we can announce a winner here shortly. And as each of you are doing that, I do want to start making sure we get some questions in quickly as time is coming short. So starting with Jonathan from Blue Linker. Radhika, do you have any feedback or questions for Jonathan? Oh, and you're on mute. Remember, double check that mute. All right.
Yeah, so check out, there's a project from MIT, which is developing a contact tracing app called SafePath. It's a private kit, pretty impressive team and partners that they're rolling out with, because they're rolling out with Harvard, Mayo Clinic, WHO, CDC. I mean, it's kind of a who's who list in terms of what they're developing as a contact tracing app. I think it's just good to know. And if anything else, maybe connect with them. I think the value proposition of having a contact tracing app is useful, obviously. And certainly with privacy concerns abounding at the moment, I think that there's a moment in time where that's incredibly important. But I think that you should spend a little bit more time thinking through how you're actually going to get that out and how you're going to get adoption. And so look to the model that I just presented with SafePath, because I think they've partnered with some pretty heavy hitters. And so while you might be thinking about a minister of health or so on in various countries that's trying to help you get this thing out, and they're certainly motivated in getting the contact tracing mechanisms out there in the population, think about who else you can bring on board that's going to accelerate your go-to-market.
That's great. And Julio, I want to shift over to you, because you brought this up, and this is something that's a big opportunity in Latin America. So any questions or feedback for Jonathan?
I share the same feedback as Radhika. Obviously, I'm not familiar with the MIT crowd, so obviously people should check their competition. I think they're going to be competing with people like that, right? People who can say that they're from MIT or from CDC, or, there are many World Health Organization. It's going to be really difficult to try and match that. So I guess my approach then would be perhaps more about, we're nimble. We are, we can gather the data really fast. We have this this system with the unique, they mentioned the unique identifier for people that, I think that right now the urgency of the situation would probably get them a meeting with a couple of health ministers that I could introduce them to. But I think they're going to have to pitch how efficient, quick, and, on top of things they are, and that they don't bring to the table a whole lot of bureaucracy. So I think that would be maybe the way to counter that. But if they can find someone to partner with, like Radhika said, that can only help.
It's a good point. So Jonathan, just a few things to take away, those proof points that traction is going to be very key as well, and partnerships locally or globally. Additionally. So Darwin, I want to get to you around Expedio. Any comments, questions, or feedbacks for Drive On?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually reached out to Expedio to ask him to send me a deck. I like it. So I'm very familiar with the industry. You mentioned a couple other companies, sort of like the well-known name like Drive. So I want to see, and I'm familiar with the business model. So what I want to see is actually something where you mentioned this is you're focusing on the Latin America market. I want to see more sort of like your go-to-market strategies. What is your partnership? What is your who's your customers? Are you going to sell to the insurance company? Are you going to sell to are you going to be your own insurance company? So this is something that is not quite clear to me, and then maybe we just as a follow-up, one thing I think is because of the pitch here, you tend to, I think that there's a lot of details at the end where they talk about cap table, the spreads, your finance and all that. I think typically for a sort of like a demo pitch, or what we call like a 5 to 10 minute pitch, you probably don't need to show those information. The idea is really just like get people's attention, really explain your value proposition, and focus on really the the differentiation. Are you focusing on your technologies or your market, or rather say, the idea of saving lives is good, but at the end you need to kind of articulate your value propositions, because the people who actually may be ending up saving or helping may not be actually the customers. The customers are, maybe the insurance company or maybe individual users. I don't know. That wasn't clear to me. So that's something where I think will be good for you to go refine your pitch. But overall, it's a good value proposition, and also that's something where potentially where maybe you didn't explain it very clearly, because why you focus on Latin market, or what is your strength? Is that something where there's an opportunity, or maybe something where you have already developed a lot of relationship in that market, and that's why this is actually you're focusing on that? If you can come up and actually mention that in your pitch, I think that will be, I think you go a much more longer way than your next pitch to the other investors and all that.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
And Alex, any feedback or thoughts here for Expedio?
Yeah, I won't belabor it. I think that's right, and I'll echo what Darwin really said. Just in terms of incentives and the value proposition, making sure that that's really clear. And ideally, the other part that I think that would be a key value proposition, I think it's probably being thought of, but we're all top of mind with the current situation, is how this use case expands upon not just in the current situation, and being able to articulate that value proposition clearly as well.
All right, and judges, again, remember to get your scores in quickly so that we are able to announce the winner here shortly as well. Jaian, I want to get to you about Eric and Odyssean. Any comments or feedback or questions for Eric?
Yeah, and I think it's there's a lot of metrics. I know Eric has shown a chart with comparisons of performance, but it's kind of I still feel it's a little nascent. They're to kind of really, I guess the word for it would be to see the performance. Like there's not really much to compare it to currently, but I would say, I mean, give it some time, keep building on it. 5 years charts speak volumes. Show that performance, and that'd be a good approach.
Jorden, how about yourself? Any comments or thoughts for Eric?
We're not doing so much in the digital asset area and hedge funds, so it's a little bit outside of where we usually spend our time. I think I would just say more generally, in terms of the kind of problem solution statement, I think making that a little bit clearer, because obviously you're trying to get a return from the investment, and what are the different approaches that are being used that are innovative. I know there was a lot of discussion of the team, which is good, but it wasn't exactly clear what innovative new approaches were being brought. So I think a little bit, kind of tighter and cleaner pitch in terms of the value proposition would have been good. But it's just not really an area that we focus on so much, and so I can't really go beyond that.
No, I think that's great.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. No, please go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to comment on Blue Linker. I think
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it's fine. But it was just a quick comment on. I think the best approach, as Julio had mentioned, I think is go where they're not going already. You don't want to service the biggest markets in the world, United States market. Too much bureaucracy in the government. Too much to go. Too many hurdles for a small startup to handle. Go to Caribbean, go to Latin America, go to Africa, go to places no one's going, because they need it also, and it's a much more smoother entry than because everybody's giving attention to the guys with money. There's millions in grants and millions in stuff in government. Health and Human Services is who you talk to for something like that. But definitely those emerging markets need it just as much as everybody.
But be ready as well, as a caveat to that. Be ready to be local in those markets. So while it seems like there's plenty of places to be, you yourself or your team need to be there on the ground, whether that's short term or long term. One way or another, you need to have a presence there on the ground in that market, and have good strategic partners who can help support you in those local ecosystems. Tess, any comments or questions for Eric? I know this is an area that you have some experience as well, so I wanted to make sure you get a chance to throw some questions or feedback to Eric.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think given that it's a 5-minute format, great job to all the presenters and founders. And I think the panel, gave some good insights. So in general, I was thinking one of the most helpful advice for these 5-minute elevator pitches that is a small window for you to showcase enough that induces the interest of the investors to speak to you offline. Some of you have shared about this and some didn't, but I think it's important to talk about how much funding has been raised, how much funding are you looking to raise, and that, and along with any notable, investors that are already on board, and probably, advisors that you can speak about. For me, when I invest in early stage, those are obviously some of the critical aspects, as in what is the formation of the founding team, founding advisory board, and founding investor set. So I think that's something that, is always, even a 5-minute, pitch is important. Combined with the fact that speaking a little bit about how you are going to meet your KPIs and what your KPIs are that you're going to measure with. In this COVID-19 days, the market cycle, the market risk, are all very different. So I think highlighting a little bit about that will help us understand that you are aware of how you have baked this into your strategy. So I think overall, those are, just, feedback and advice that I would share with each of the teams here.
Good. Again, judges, please. I know there's a lot of good startups. Please get your scores in immediately. We're running out of time, and we want to make sure we get to the winner. And one last bit of piece of advice. So, David, I want to get to you for Mahmeet. Any questions or feedback for our last startup freshie? David, you put the vest on, and all of a sudden you went on mute.
Last one, honestly, is not the area which we look into heavily. So I cannot give a very specific answer here. But he does. I like his presentation style. So his opening is pretty good. The closing needs some improvements. In general, I want to follow what Tess said earlier, the suggestion on the 5 minutes part. So 5 minutes, many people think it's pretty short. I know. So actually 5 minutes is a very long time for investors to understand what are the possibilities. Yes. I noticed a couple of presenters speaking very fast. This is a normal problem we saw, right? Because I only have 5 minutes. I got to really squeeze out all the message within 5 minutes. So that's wrong, totally wrong. Actually, our recommendation is 5 minutes, very long. Just slow down, enjoy. And like our last presenter, get your message out, repeat your messages. And you get yourself a date, memorize, let the investor remember you. So I remember the meditation because I'm a big fan of meditation.
Yeah, to David's point, guys, 5 minutes is very long. I used to make startups do it in 4. And so, I know David has as well. So you can do it. You just focus on those main points. In my personal opinion, the advice I always gave was the rule of 3. Think of the 3 key points that you need to get to, 3 key points of your message to get out there. Everything else will fall into the cracks. The point is to make an impression so that these 8 investors or anyone in the audience is watching has the chance or wants the chance to continue the conversation. 5 minutes is not going to get you a check. 5 minutes or 4 is going to get you the next conversation, as we've talked about on previous shows as well. So focus on those types of things.
Can I add something for Freshie? We have 1 minute.
Please. We do. Exactly 60 seconds. Go for it.
Well, then I'll be, I'll think of my message. everything was going well I know Spain very well, and everything was going very well with Freshie, including the nice intro. So all that, kudos. And I think I gave him the grade for the best presentation overall because of that, the plastic and the sushi, all that was fantastic, very visual. Where you guys really lost me or just almost killed it is because you put yourselves in the same quadrant as El Corte Inglés, and you said that you are in direct competition to El Corte Inglés in the upper right-hand quadrant. And anybody who knows anything about Spain knows that El Corte Inglés is Walmart plus Macy's plus, Albertsons and Target combined. I mean, they are the powerhouse retailer in Spain. So to say that you're differentiated from all these other people, but that you're right there, right next to El Corte Inglés, makes me think you're just going to get crushed. So I would say change the metrics, change the quarter, change that 2x2 in some other way. But you don't put yourself as right there, right next to El Corte Inglés in a competition, because people are going to say that there's just no room for you.
That's a very, very, very good point. In that comparison, not everybody is the Uber of. Look at direct comparisons that are maybe more aligned in size as well. To Julio's point, sometimes we have a tendency to go a little too ambitious, which actually prices you out of a conversation, and you don't want to put yourself in those. But without further ado, we do have a winner. Thank you, judges. I know there was a lot to process here. And I want to announce and congratulate Eric of the Odessan Fund. Congratulations as our winner today. A little round of applause, a little golf clap. There you go. There you go. Congratulations,
well, thank you.
Eric. You're welcome. So Eric, we are running out of time. So just a quick.
Thank you very much.
You got an acceptance speech of 10 seconds and 5 more seconds to tell everybody where they can find you.
Sure, that's fantastic. It's like I said, it's an honor to be here and great to meet you all. I'm glad that you found the presentation interesting. You can reach me at Eric, ERIC, at Odyssean.fund, and that's spelled ODYSSEAN.fund, FUND. I look forward to hearing from you, and thanks again.
Awesome. Congratulations again, Eric. Well, welcome to the Winners Club for this week, and everyone else will have the chance to come back and do this again. And we'll look forward to each and every one of you being that grand champion. But again, you're all winners today. So Mamit, where can everyone find you?
Basically on the LinkedIn profile I put on the chat or over email, and they can check out, if they're in Spain, of course, the freshie.eco website. And yeah, thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you. Expedio, where can everyone find you and Drive On?
Yes, again, I shared my email, and www.cryptomiles.ma is our website. Thank you all again.
Awesome. Jonathan, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, bluelinker.com, jonathan.ruizgamez@gmail.com. Thank you to everyone.
Awesome. Thank you to each and every one of our startups speakers. Quick round out. Where can everyone find you? And 1/2 second of advice if you're raising capital in this space. Jaian, we're starting with you. Family Feud style. Go for it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, you could find me on LinkedIn. You could connect with me, and you could email me at jkurst@veltrust.com. And what the advice for raising investment is that okay. Yeah. My best advice is, at the core of anything, it's not about the technology. It's not about the the fancy business models. At the core, it's only ever about being authentic to your business. If you're authentic, you're never going to run out of customers, and you're always going to find investment pouring in, because that's what it is, staying true to what you're trying to deliver. Yeah.
Awesome. Good point. And thank you. Jorden, same to you. Where can everyone find you? And super 10-second quick advice on investing in this space.
Sure. So best place for me to find me is on LinkedIn. And so find me on LinkedIn. And in terms of investment, I think the value proposition and the size of the opportunity, in addition to the team for execution, are sort of the key things to focus on. Also, because the pandemic is different, if you have a hook, it's remote, learning or remote access, or is it have something to do with health, or does it have something to do with some type of system that's being stressed? But then also being able to have go beyond the pandemic, because it will end at some point, and but use it as a starting point as what's going to get your business off the ground.
Great.
So those would be my thoughts.
Absolutely wonderful. And Julio, same to you. Where can everyone find you? Quick 10-second piece of advice for anyone raising in this market.
LinkedIn, as long as you put in my middle initial A, Julio A Marquez, because there are a few Julio Marquezes out there. So just if you put the A, you'll be fine. You'll find me quick. And the name of my company is Bay Capital, right there, New York Bay Capital. Look, I think that you should never skim on giving information about the people running the company. And while the 5 minutes is obviously short, too many rush through the slide of the team, and I can just never get enough information about the team and the people behind it. You should all think of yourselves as fiduciaries, as people who are going to be receiving something from someone, and you need to really entrust that. So whatever it takes to build trust, which usually means getting to know the people, can only help.
Absolutely. Darwin, same to you.
Yeah, my email address is darwin@goodai.capital. So I think I echoed every comment that all you guys mentioned. For the startups, again, stay true to your values, focus on the long-term values, articulate the problem you're trying to address. I think we are faced with this crisis here. Do not take shortcuts. Still focus on what are the problems ultimately you're trying to solve, and it would serve you well, because actually ultimately you need to find out who your customers are, who is going to pay for your services or products. These are critical. Don't lose sight on that. And so one thing is we are actually actively investing in startups. We just made an investment a couple of weeks ago in a microbiome space. I know most of the startups today, they are not in that space, but I want to spread the message out. So VCs are not shy on making investments. We are actually actively looking for investments. And this is the time where we see founders that are resilient, that are the best startups, created at the most challenging times, the Airbnb of the world, although they have problems themselves now. But I think but the idea is, stay resilient, stay focused. Focus on your team also, the people who are in your team, because ultimately we are all kind of like, in this together. Pay attention to your team members. Whatever, if they have to work from home or whatever that needs to happen, they need to pay high priority time, full attention to these guys. I think maybe funding is an issue. There are other source of funding right now in terms of the PPP program and all that stuff. Those are alternative sources of capital that you can tap into during this challenging times here.
Absolutely. Alex, quick, same to you as well.
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn, Alex Cater, and we connect there. And on the advice, everything that's been said, but the one thing I'll say differently is, leading up to the presentation, focus on the critical customers that you have and the critical people, and iterate, because those are the people who are going to help you get over the hump, so that you're that much more stress tested when you get in front of somebody.
Absolutely. Great advice. Radhika, same to you. Super quick. Where can everyone find you?
LinkedIn is probably the best way to connect. I think I'll echo what Julio said about building trust. And that just depends how, from company to company. If you're really early stage and you don't have customers or whatever, focus on the team, because that's how you build trust. I agree with Julio. But if you do have customers, if you have name brand partners or whatever, put those all up front, because that automatically builds trust with your audience, and saying, oh, so-and-so is already working with you. think about differentiating, whether that means by a go-to-market strategy, whether it means by product technology, because that's building a barrier to entry. Think about how you're going to differentiate from everyone else out there that's also trying to do similar things. So for me, the differentiation is really key. And I think the go-to-market strategy is under discussed, because I think that, you know, that's really the proof to how you're going to achieve that trust and success in the marketplace. So focus on your go-to-market strategy and saying, how am I going to be successful and why am I going to be successful?
Absolutely. And David, to you as well.
Sure. My ID everywhere the same, David's House 01. You can also search for I50. You can find me at company I50.io. And my primary contact point linking purpose is the best. The takeaway I'll suggest that Churchill said, never waste a great crisis. Another way to say this one is, if it's winter in North Pole, must be summer in South Pole. So it's a crisis. There are always winners in every crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. That's leaving me speechless. Tess, round us out. Where can everyone find you? One quick piece of advice for all of our founders and those looking to invest in the space. Super quick.
Thank you. The best is probably Twitter, TessHow1. Follow me there, DM me there, and also LinkedIn. I would say the best advice, I'm going to tailor this to this panel topic, which is health. During fundraising in these pandemic, very uncertain times, best advice is keep walking, keep moving. Why? Everyone needs to decompress and stay focused. If we don't exercise, that absolutely is not going to be healthy for the body and for the mind and for your mental state. And applying what Kyle shared, 3 things is keep walking, keep moving. Why those things are important. That combined with why Limpo, one of my companies that I'm advising, investing in, they have a squatting, track squatting ability, data empowerment platform. They encourage you to keep moving. And that's one of the most important things that I think we don't talk enough about, but exercising in fundraising is the only thing that's going to keep us sane and keep us going. So let's do it.
There you go. And with Tess's thing said right there, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving with our days. Thank you, everybody, to our entire audience for joining in, for all the great questions, and for your time and continued commitment here at VCTV. Thank you to each and one of our startups. Outstanding job today, as mentioned, and great projects. We're looking forward to how those progress and seeing you back here. Speakers, judges, thank you as always. Good friends, great to see you. New friends, welcome. We're looking forward to having you back and having our remote coffee sessions here. As you can see, everyone has dropped their information of where to find you. Make sure you all connect. Next week, we'll be back here on Monday on VCTV for another edition, talking about a new subject in a new category and investing around this new era. And thank you, Elena, to her and the entire LLE Token team for putting this together. We're out. Have a great day. See you soon. I'm Kyle Ellicott. You can find me on Twitter at Kyle Ellicott. Have a great day.